From a 20-kilometre train journey to an international travel business. Ask anyone in the UK for the name of a travel company and the chances are they'll say Thomas Cook. Based in Peterborough, about 140 kilometres north of London, it's one of the world's largest travel groups, with 19 million customers a year and 33,000 employees in dozens of countries. It also operates 3,000 travel agencies, 46 hotels and a fleet of 97 planes. Its revenue is $12 billion a year. What's more, it played a major role in the development of mass tourism in the 19th century. Like most big businesses, the company grew from very small beginnings. The founder, Thomas Cook, who was born in 1808, wasn't in the travel business originally. He made furniture. In 1841, he was walking to an anti-alcohol meeting in Leicester when he had an idea. He could transport lots of people to meetings by railway, a recent invention. For another meeting 4 weeks later, he booked a train to carry 500 passengers a distance of just under 20 kilometres and arranged for the ticket price to cover food as well as travel. This was such a success that Cook set up his own business organising leisure travel by train. At first, he offered trips within Britain, then gradually expanded into continental Europe and more distant places, and later led round-the-world tours. While Cook accompanied the tours, his son John, they formed a partnership in the 1860s as Thomas Cook & Son, managed the business from premises in London. Thomas retired in 1879. John continued to run the business, and after his death in 1899, it passed to his 3 sons. For the quarter of a century that they owned it, the firm was the market leader in the travel sector. The partnership became a company as Thomas Cook & Son Limited in 1924. However, in 1928, Thomas Cook's 2 surviving grandsons, one had died in 1914, sold the business. It became a subsidiary of a Belgian company that operated luxury sleeping cars for railway travel. In 1941, Cook's was sold to Britain's 4 big railway companies and was nationalised along with them in 1948. The 1950s saw rapid growth in the holiday industry, and while Cook's remained the largest travel operator in Britain, it faced increasing competition from new businesses. Cook's returned to the private sector in 1972, and 5 years later, it became a wholly owned subsidiary of the Midland Bank Group. Its owners have changed several times since then. Cook's has expanded by acquiring or merging with a number of competitors. In 2007, Thomas Cook merged with My Travel Group plc under the name Thomas Cook Group plc and announced plans to reorganise its business in the UK and Ireland. The main brand will be Thomas Cook, while My Travel's Going Places brand will largely disappear. The 950 travel agencies will be reduced to around 800, and 6 offices will be closed, including My Travel's head office. The merger made Thomas Cook the second largest travel company in Europe and the largest in the UK and several other markets.
How can a company keep its high flyers? Every company needs high flyers, staff who perform very effectively and have the potential and the ambition to reach the top. Without people like this, a company would have difficulty gaining and maintaining a competitive advantage. High flyers have a range of skills that their employer needs. One might be the ability to develop strategies and see what problems may occur. Another, a skill at persuading other staff to accept changes. How can companies identify the high flyers who are already within the organisation? In a small business, where the owner knows all the staff well, this is easy, but a larger organisation needs a system for discovering the strengths of its employees. Often this takes the form of an annual appraisal, an interview once a year in which an employee and his or her line manager discuss the employee's work in the past year, his/her training needs, and agree on objectives for the coming year. This gives line managers the chance to identify their reportees' potential and to plan training and work experience to prepare them for promotion. Perhaps the greatest risk for the company is losing its high flyers to competitors. Someone who is ambitious probably wants an early opportunity to move into a higher position, and if that isn't offered by their current employer, another firm might prove more attractive. So, thought needs to be put into retaining high flyers. A relatively high salary probably won't be enough. High flyers can usually get a good salary more easily than other people, and so they take it for granted. They are more likely to be motivated by responsibility, so it's important that their line managers give them projects which they own. This provides an incentive to remain with the company and to feel they have something to contribute, while at the same time developing further skills. High flyers also need a challenge. If they have a dull routine, with tasks they can do without using their brain, the company can expect to lose them. Most important of all is how the company makes its high flyers feel. If staff members feel valued, they will probably stay. But a company that doesn't care about its high flyers can't expect much loyalty from them in return. The best organizations treat their staff as people, while the worst treat them as tools or machines. So, if companies give their high flyers respect, responsibility, challenges, a clear career path within the company and a good salary, these valuable people are likely to stay, and both they and their organization will benefit.
Changes at the top. People in the news. Sudden departure. In a surprise move, Patricia Stevens, non-executive chair of soft drinks group Ronaldo's, is to combine the role with that of chief executive with immediate effect. She is replacing Gerald Donnelly, who unexpectedly resigned yesterday after less than 6 months in the position. Mr. Donnelly is to be the new chair of Dalton, the chemicals company. Orchard to retire. Carol Orchard, chief executive of Malpass, the publishing group, has brought forward her retirement to the end of this month. Brian Starkey will take up the position of acting CEO until a permanent successor is named, while remaining the company's CFO, Chief Financial Officer. Move to Tarouba. Karen Harper, who was unsuccessful in her attempt to become the new chief executive of supermarket chain Stockton, has resigned her position as Stockton's Director of Human Resources to become CEO of Tarouba, the machinery manufacturer. Her first task will be to close down Tarouba's loss-making factories. Appointment at Bank. Carl Sargent's appointment as Executive Chairman of Guildford Bank has had a mixed response in the finance industry. Sargent has no experience of retail operations, as his career has been mostly in investment banking. He will remain a non-executive director of several companies in the sector.
The latest from the world of business. Companies in the news. Sharman plans savings. Sharon Webster, chief executive of furniture manufacturer Sharman, has forecast that the firm will achieve considerable savings by closing factories around the world and leaving its head office in London. It is looking for new premises in a less expensive part of the country. Expansion plans at Moores. Sales at Moores, the men's clothing chain, have hit record levels. The group plans to invest a large part of its profit in expanding into overseas markets and will open 30 new outlets in the next 2 years. It is also interested in taking over a major competitor, Rycroft for men. Donna to sell division. Donna, the Scottish manufacturer of health and beauty products, is short of money after it invested heavily in launching its brands in the USA, with disappointing results. As a result, it is looking for a buyer for its health division and will in future concentrate on cosmetics. Success for Kebble. Kebble, which specialises in developing IT applications for hospitals, has been a potential takeover target for a long time. It has now become even more attractive to its competitors, with its announcement that it has won major contracts with 5 healthcare providers in Europe and the Middle East. An Italian icon, the Lambretta. Japan has its bullet train, Britain the Mini, and Italy its motor scooters. 2-wheeled vehicles like motorbikes, but you step onto them rather than having the bike between your legs. They're ideal for heavy traffic and a warm climate, and the best-known motor scooter brands must be the Vespa and the Lambretta. The Lambretta was manufactured by a company called Innocenti, but it wasn't their first product. The company's founder, Ferdinando Innocenti, 1891 to 1966, opened a factory to manufacture steel tubing in Rome in 1922. This was used in the construction industry, and Innocenti benefited from the large number of building projects in Rome during the 1920s. Some of his products were used to water gardens and for firefighting. In 1931, he relocated the business to Milan, which had become Italy's industrial centre. He opened a larger factory and did well, despite the economic crisis of the time. His projects included building stands for the stadiums where the 1934 Football World Cup was to be held. By the end of the Second World War, in 1945, Italy was suffering. Cities, factories and roads had been badly damaged, and it was difficult to travel around the country. Innocenti identified a market for motor scooters, realising that production costs would be relatively low and they would be cheap for customers. The company set up a motor division and spent a year developing its motor scooter. After delays caused by difficulties in obtaining supplies, the Lambretta went into production in 1947. It was named after the River Lambro, which was near the Milan factory. From very early on, the scooters were sold not only in the domestic market, but were also exported. Sales figures rose fast, and by 1949, the output of 150 a day could hardly keep up with demand. Lambrettas were soon being manufactured under license in France and Germany, and later in Brazil, Argentina and Chile. In Spain, they were produced from 1954 until 1989, in fact, for 10 years longer than in Italy. Motor scooters were very popular during the 1950s and early 1960s, particularly among young men. However, from 1963, sales declined because of growing competition from small, inexpensive cars. In 1966, Ferdinando Innocenti died, and his son, Luigi, succeeded him. The company was now struggling, and it signed an agreement with the British Motor Corporation to produce some BMC cars in Italy. This did not solve Innocenti's problems, and BMC took over the company. Scooter sales continued to fall, and production came to an end in 1971. The Milan factory closed the following year and was sold to the Indian government. India had a poor infrastructure, and very few people could afford cars, but there was a demand for private transport. Scooters India Limited, based in Lucknow, was set up as a state-run enterprise. The machinery from the Milan factory was moved to India and was used to produce motor scooters until 1998.
Training and developing employees. There's no real difference between training and development except in focus. Training focuses on helping people to do their current jobs better. An expert helps them learn a particular area of knowledge and develop particular skills that they can use. Training is usually quite specific and lasts for a limited time. Development focuses on helping people learn a wide area of knowledge, develop a number of skills. Development is often intended to help someone to prepare for a future job and may continue over a long period. The two words are often used together to cover both focuses. Some common training topics. Communication. The way that people speak and write may have a big impact on how effectively they communicate. For example, a salesperson who talks about their products in an unorganised way and doesn't look at the listener is unlikely to sell many goods. Computer skills. Computer skills are essential in a lot of jobs. In the past, managers had secretaries to type for them, but now they generally need to use a computer themselves. Customer service. Customers who aren't satisfied with a company will probably go to one of its competitors instead, so companies need to train their staff to ensure customer satisfaction. Health and safety. Training is essential to help prevent accidents and illnesses. It is particularly important for employees working with something that is potentially dangerous, such as chemicals, but is valuable for all staff so that they become more aware of safety issues. Human relations. Many people are under a lot of stress at work, and this may lead to misunderstandings and arguments. Training can reduce these, for instance, by helping people to get on with each other and work together more effectively. Quality. A company's goods or services need to be of good quality or it will lose customers. Because of this, employees require training so that they understand exactly what is required and can follow the guidelines necessary for achieving it. What are some of the benefits of training and development? Employees will be more satisfied with their jobs, more highly motivated, more efficient at their work, and more likely to remain with the company. Crocodile. In the early 1990s, fast food was a product category that hardly existed in the Czech Republic. So setting up Crocodile, a business to make and sell sandwiches and baguettes, was a big risk. Now, however, fast food is everywhere, with international and domestic firms competing for customers. And Crocodile is one of the most successful local brands. Its products are sold in retail outlets in both the Czech Republic and Hungary. Crocodile's success is due to good marketing, research into consumer tastes and technology. Outside stores where the products are on sale, there are green flags. These flags encourage impulse buying by people in the street. New sandwich fillings and other products are developed based on the research and development team's work into finding out who Crocodile's typical customers are and what food they like. As for technology, the firm uses state-of-the-art bakery, sandwich making and packaging techniques and machinery to make its products. And in the outlets, the products are stored in special refrigerated boxes which keep them fresh. Crocodile's strategy is to manage the whole process from baking bread to delivering finished products to outlets. This gives the company as much control as possible over its supply chain. Products are made at 2 production centres, then transported to distribution centres, 2 in the Czech Republic and 1 in Hungary. From here they are delivered to over 2,500 retail outlets, made up of mostly supermarkets, grocery stores and petrol stations. Crocodile has achieved steady growth since it was founded and is confident of its strong growth potential. The company's future looks good.
Chairman's Statement. Kenton Food Stores plc has made considerable progress in the past year, and I am pleased to be able to report a trading result that is better than expected. Trading conditions have been difficult throughout the year. A series of rises in interest rates has led to a downturn in consumer spending, particularly on higher value goods. Through our acquisition of our smaller competitor, Value Mart, we have gained 74 supermarkets, making a total of 538. As a result, our market share has increased from 3.9% to 4.3%, which matches our growth target for the year. The acquisition has involved significant costs, including the loss of about £15 million of turnover from closing a number of Value Mart stores for refurbishment. We are confident, however, that increased sales in these stores will soon make up that loss. Our convenience stores division is expanding rapidly, faster than supermarkets, and its contribution to Kenton Group sales was up by £65 million on the previous year. Our strategy is to acquire more convenience stores where there are suitable opportunities, as we believe that this type of store is one of our particular strengths. Our pre-tax profit rose by 47% to £36.2 million. Earnings per share were up 19% to 11.3 pence. Despite the closing of stores for refurbishment, sales grew by 3.5% to £4.2 billion. However, growth in the first half year was followed by a decline of 0.2% in the second. Margins were unchanged.
Do we want to work? Do we enjoy work? Many of us claim we don't and that we spend the whole working week looking forward to the weekend. And yet there's plenty of research showing that, in fact, most people do enjoy their work. This is good for companies because employees who like their work are likely to do it well and stay in their jobs. This is both good for business as well as reducing the cost of recruiting and training new staff. So, how can companies motivate their staff? That is, help them to enjoy their work and want to do their best? The obvious way is by paying them well, but surprisingly perhaps, money isn't a very effective way of motivating people. In the 1940s, the psychologist Abraham Maslow defined what he called a hierarchy of needs, suggesting that there are 5 levels of needs that we try to satisfy. The basic needs, the names vary, are for food, drink and shelter, and work provides the income that allows people to have a home and enough to eat and drink. Companies may also provide a canteen or coffee machine so that staff can eat and drink while they are at work. At Maslow's second level are safety needs. In work terms, these are met by safe working conditions. We generally take it for granted that our jobs will meet our basic and safety needs. We complain if they don't, but hardly notice that they do. We are much more likely to be motivated if our job meets our needs above these 2 levels. The next level up is social needs, and there is plenty of research showing that one of the most common reasons for enjoying work is interaction with other people, colleagues, customers and suppliers. To improve opportunities for social activities, businesses often provide a club or organised activities like barbecues. People who work alone may miss these chances of having social interaction. Above social needs, there are self-esteem needs, which are to do with how we feel about ourselves. Our feelings are likely to be affected by how others see us and by status symbols such as job titles, having our own office or a company car. Many companies have a clear hierarchy with the size of the office, the size and quality of the desk, and even the size of the carpet depending on a person's position. The highest level of Maslow's pyramid is self-actualization needs, such as the need to achieve our full potential. This is met by a company providing opportunities for promotion or offering additional responsibilities. These needs are probably met far less often than the other needs. So, while we may say that we only work for money, we actually have plenty of other reasons for getting up in the morning and going to work.
Successful report writing. If you work in an office, this might have happened to you. The boss comes in and says, "We've got a problem. Let me have a report on it by tomorrow, will you?" Your first reaction is probably to panic, but you won't need to if you know how to write reports. Writing a report isn't just writing. Some people make the mistake of trying to write it from the beginning to the end, like a letter or an email. Usually they find it hard. There are really 3 stages: preparation, writing, improvement. Preparation. In the preparation stage, you find your material for the report and write it in note form under suitable headings and subheadings using bullet points. If you write notes, it's easy to check whether you've included everything you need to and are making it clear. Ask yourself the following questions. What's the purpose of the report? In other words, what exactly do you need to do? Ask your boss. Make sure you agree on what's required and write it down. This will give you your terms of reference, which come at the beginning of the report. This is really a summary of what the report is about. So keep checking that everything you write is relevant to the terms of reference. How shall I do this? Consider different ways of collecting the information you need. Plan what to do and make notes on it. When you've collected the information you need, you'll describe what you did in the method section of the report. Why is a report needed? Now make notes on the background, which is the starting point, the reason why a report is needed. What have I found out? As you collect your information, make notes. These are your findings. Afterwards, arrange your notes logically. For instance, describe what happened in chronological order. If the information relates to several different points, organize it under subheadings. Remember not to waste time writing complete sentences at this stage. Notes and bullet points are more useful. What shall I do with my findings? As you write your notes, you'll be getting a clear idea in your mind about the main causes of the problem. You'll report this in your conclusions section. This is a summary of what you've discovered. The conclusions may also say why something needs to be done. What should we do in future? This leads neatly and logically into the final part of your report, recommendations. This section should be brief and shouldn't introduce any new reasons for recommending particular actions. All the reasons should be clear from earlier sections. Use bullet points to separate the recommendations. Writing. You've written an outline of the report in note form, and the second stage is writing it in full. It's now fairly easy to turn your notes into complete sentences and paragraphs. As you write, keep thinking about the readers. Will they understand exactly what you mean? For example, if you say that A happened and then B happened, do you really mean that A caused B to happen? If so, say so. Improving. The third and equally important stage is checking and improving what you've written. First, think about the meaning. Imagine you're the person who is going to read the report. Is it easy to understand? Is everything included that should be there? Are there any complicated sentences that would be clearer as two simpler ones? Are there enough helpful headings and subheadings? When you're sure the report is clear and complete, check it for mistakes, such as spelling, grammar, and punctuation errors. When you've done all this, you should have a report you can be proud of.
Succession planning. Does your business need it? In the USA, the UK and many other countries, a lot of babies were born in the baby boom of the late 1940s and 1950s. After that, the birth rate fell. Baby boomers have now retired or are approaching retirement, and this is causing headaches for many organizations. There are not enough people to succeed their top managers when they retire. Does your organization have key staff who can't easily be replaced? A CEO or financial director, perhaps, or a technical expert with knowledge that nobody else in the organization has? If your answer is yes, what will happen when they retire or leave for another company? Will you wait until the last moment before looking for someone to replace them? Or is your organization thinking about likely future changes now, as it should be, and making plans so that there is likely to be someone ready to replace the person leaving? If the answer is that you are planning ahead, your organization is carrying out succession planning. Succession planning means looking inside the organization for high flyers, current staff members with the potential to fill key positions and planning the training, responsibilities and promotion they need to make them ready when a senior vacancy occurs, which may not be for several years. The company benefits by being able to make an internal promotion when a key person leaves, and in the meantime, it benefits by developing the skills of its high flyers and encouraging them to stay. And the high flyers benefit because they achieve their full potential. A career is planned for them within the organisation, and they can look forward to a senior post in time. The training programme planned for the high flyers will help them to develop the leadership skills they need for more senior roles, skills such as planning long-term strategies. A career path is also planned so that each high flyer moves into a number of different positions over a few years to gain the experience and knowledge they need. Sometimes a staff member is chosen as a potential successor to a particular senior manager. But a better method is for organisations to select a number of high flyers and prepare them for a range of senior roles. An organisation can't be certain when a particular senior manager will leave. Having a group of people being prepared for top positions makes it easier to replace someone who leaves unexpectedly, and also means that there are other people available if a high flyer leaves the company. It is probably best for an organisation to make the majority of its senior appointments internally. However, it also needs to make some external appointments to bring in fresh ideas and approaches. Getting the balance right can be a challenge. But without succession planning, the retirement of the baby boomer generation would cause even more problems.